Remember, always get the logo in. Good evening and welcome to the channel. Now actually, I'm going to get a special guest to do this part.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, click that subscribe button, turn on notifications and give Lester a huge thumbs up.
Welcome to a What's in the Bag 2025 edition. If 2025 is anything like 2024, then this probably will not be the only version of this particular video. However, the plan this year is to have one What's in the Bag, and this is that video. There's going to be lots of familiar clubs in this bag from the 2024 version, and you may recognise a few, and you'll obviously be able to guess what's under some of these head covers if you've seen any of the vlogs. However, there are some modifications to these clubs which we will talk through for those that are interested in the spec of my golf clubs. And if you're not interested in the specs of golf clubs, you are going to find this particular video very boring. For those that are still watching, let's start with the very bottom of the bag. Let's just talk through the 3 wedges and the wedge setup that I'm carrying this year. So firstly, none of the wedges actually match, and they're not the same manufacturer producing all 3 wedges, but they all play an important part in the bottom of my bag. Let me explain further. My most lofted wedge is a 58-degree Cleveland. It's the CBX4 version. Loads and loads of bounce on the club. We've got 12 degrees of bounce. It was the maximum that I could get from this particular club. Purchased from the professional shop at Churston. Occasionally we win some money, so I just used my shop credit to buy this particular club. However, we have reshafted it with a specialist wedge shaft. This is the 130 KBS rainbow shaft, which I think is only available in America, although I have seen it creep into some bags in the UK. And I've always liked a heavy wedge. I feel like it gives me more momentum when playing the shots. I did have a tendency a few years ago to de-accelerate when playing, particularly the finesse shots. I'm hoping that the extra weight in the shaft will give me more momentum and get that club moving through the ball at a faster rate. Long-time followers will know that it doesn't always work, and it is definitely work in progress. I won't talk about the grip fitted because that is the same with all my irons and majority of my clubs, so I'll mention that when I'm talking about the irons. Although this shaft does actually marry in nicely with my logo and the colouring scheme that I've used for that. Every single one of these shafts is meant to be unique and a slightly different shade of pink. The reason I've included this particular wedge in my bag is because of the fact it's got lots of bounce. It's got a big head as well, so it just gives me a little bit more confidence stood over a delicate chip shot. That might sound completely alien to most people who like the more thinner, smaller profile, but for me, looking at a nice thick top edge, knowing there's loads of bounce on the golf club, we're told that bounce is our friend, that just gives me a little bit more confidence. I'm actually going to execute the shot I'm trying to play. The second most lofted club in my bag is an SM7 Titleist Folky wedge, and I've had this particular club in my bag probably best part of 3 years. We've got 54 degrees of loft on it. We've got lots of bounce as well. I think it's 14 and it's in the F, so it's in the fine version. Looks like your traditional blade as well, which I like. And it's in the darker colour, which I also like. I think it's the gunmetal, but don't quote me on that. Also got a little bit of personalisation on this golf club. It says cack-handed in reference to the fact that we used to chip cack-handed. Also, this club I've reshafted myself with the KBS 130, again exactly the same as my lob wedge. My third and final specialist wedge is a 50-degree wedge, sub 70, again in the darkened finish, which is what I like. And when Sub 70 was sponsoring me, they provided me with 3 wedges, and this was my particular favourite, and it's probably the best gap wedge I've actually had. Again, we trust a KBS shaft, and this one is the same as what I've got in my irons. It's 120 gram in the stiff flex. I reshafted this myself. It did just have a normal stainless steel shaft, 90 grams I think, and I just, again, like I've said before, I like a heavier feeling club, particularly in my lower iron, so it was necessary for me to reshaft this particular club. Doesn't tell me what particular bounce is on this club. I presume it's just a mid bounce. I don't think when Sub 70 were producing these wedges that they had any bounce options, so they may have changed that since. I'm not really up to date with that, but it doesn't actually tell me what bounce it is, but I'm guessing it's 8 or 10 degrees of bounce. What I absolutely love about this wedge as well is we've got a little bit of personalisation in the back and a little bit of etching that's gone in there, well, lasered actually, that Sub 70 did, and it's the West Ham logo, which I will show you a little close-up of that now on the screen so you can have a little look at that. And if you want to blame anyone for that, I know there's lots of people that don't like West Ham, but my dad was a West Ham supporter, so that is his fault that I support them. However, we did win a trophy last year. So the lie angle on both my 54 and 50 degree wedge are 2 degrees flat. And you might ask why. The simple reason is my miss tended to be of a wedge long and left. So by flattening the lie angle, I'm trying to eliminate the left miss, particularly with your scoring clubs. A short right miss is better generally than a long left miss. Moving up through the bag, we're now into the irons. The combination of irons I'm carrying is 4 to pitching wedge. They are the Tommy Armour the third irons. Again in a dark finish, which I absolutely love. It makes the club head appear or look even smaller, and I like the lower profile irons. It's got a very low top line, which I like. It's quite rounded as well, not too much offset. I don't like the offset. We've got standard lies on them as well, and standard lofts, so they've not been cranked at all. That is exactly how they come. When you start altering the actual loft of a golf club, you increase or decrease the amount of offset on the golf club. And I want an iron which looks very traditional in its appearance, but also gives you a little bit of forgiveness, and that's exactly what we get from this Sub 70 iron. What I also like about these irons is that they're not progressive, so it's the same head all the way through the bag, so we've not got more offset, we haven't got more cavity going in there. So every single club, although the lofts, you can tell that there's a different club, they look the same at address, is what appeals to me visually. I think I've mentioned previously I was sponsored by Sub 70 and actually paid to play these golf clubs. And when you're paid to use something, you have to say how great it is. And I'm not paid anymore, and these are still great. This is a completely forged head as well, and we've got the KBS 120 stiff shafts fitted. Been recently re-gripped. I bought a set of grips on Amazon. I only bought them because I like the colour, although when they turned up I wasn't too sure I was going to use them or not. I put them on one of my clubs to try and I really liked them. So it's basically completely like a multi-compound grip. It's very soft at the bottom, and then we've got a bit of cord at the top, so almost like a hybrid grip. It's a standard size grip, but I did put an extra layer of tape, so we've got 2 layers of tape under them because they did come out a little bit thin. You tend to find that with cheaper grips or fake grips, they come out thin, so you sometimes have to add a few extra layers of tape underneath to get them to a standard size, which is what this is. I've got small hands, so I don't want anything too thick. Cue all the jokes now coming in about small hand, and yeah, I won't go there. I used to actually, when I put grips on, I used to pull them and stretch them so they're actually thinner. But I have got a bit of arthritis, and so if you are struggling with actually gripping a golf club, then it doesn't matter how big your hands are, then thicken them up slightly and you'll find it slightly more comfortable and slightly easy to grip. For those regular viewers, you'll notice that 4 iron is my longest iron, and the old 2 iron has completely gone from the set. And we've replaced it with this little Badger, which is under the Cobra head cover, although it's not a Cobra club. And I'm well aware that I need to up my head cover game because that doesn't marry in with what's going on at the top of my bag. The head cover game is very important. So lurking under this head cover, as I said, it's not a Cobra. We've got a new addition to the bag for 2025. Might surprise you, we put a rescue club in the bag. In the past, I've really struggled with the rescue clubs. I tend to strike them at the toe, so we get that sort of low spinning hook. However, like I said, I haven't got on with one before this one. And early testings, I've only hit it on the driving range, and I realised the course is a completely different animal. The early signs are very, very positive. For once, I actually like the shape of this particular club. It doesn't look too dissimilar to my Fairway wood, although obviously my Fairway wood has a little bit more real estate behind it. But the actual top line of the club is very similar to my 5 wood. We've got the same sort of dot on the top of the club which signifies the middle of it, which ideally we want to hit a bit more often this year. And we've also got the slight lines around the actual perimeter of the back. One says carbon fly wrap and the other one is just a line with a bit of, but it's 2 different colours, and I actually like the look of that. I like the fact as well we can see lots of face. It's gives me a little bit more confidence. There's a bit of loft on there. I'm not even sure if I've told you what it is. And the main difference between this year's model and last year's model is obviously the price. So decided there's not much performance difference, if any, and everyone likes saving money, and I'm particularly money conscious. Now, we're not sponsored. Did I mention that I wasn't sponsored? Let's not leave him out. Just to mention, this is my 2-iron, and this might return to my bag at some stage during the year, maybe when it gets a bit harder and bouncier. Next into my one and only Fairway wood, and under the West Ham head cover, we've got the old trusty G430 5 wood. Set at 18 degrees, but we've cranked it down a degree, so it's actually on 17, so just a little bit less loft, gives me a little bit more power and a little bit more distance and a slightly lower flight, because I tend to hit this quite high. Absolutely love this club. It's the best purchase I made last year. Never once did I think about replacing it. Very versatile, can hit it from numerous lies, can hit it off the tee when I'm not hitting my driver well, or if we've got a tighter hole. It comes out the fairway nicely. Also, you can hit it out of all types of rough. We get a nice shape with it as well. Tend to be able to draw it, which I struggle with most of my other clubs to do. Shaft wise, again, exactly the same as my rescue club. This is just the bog standard stock shaft, nothing special about it. It's a Tour 2.0 in the silver finish. And next, the big dog. We have a love-hate relationship with this particular club. Little logoed head cover. It's a few years old now. Clink Golf made that for me, kindly made that for me before I had a logo, but it is in the same colours, West Ham colours, which is great. And underneath there, we got the PXG driver. I was kindly gifted this by PXG when I went for a fitting. It's the Black Ops. We've got it 10.5 degrees. Absolutely love this driver. Like the crown and the top. I like the way that there's a carbon top to it. 2 different colours. It's very similar to I had a Cobra F8, which was my favourite driver of all time, and it looks very similar to that. Shaft fitted is a hazardous shaft. This was fitted by, obviously I said PXG. 6.0, 60 grams with 3.5 degrees of torque, and it is in the low spin version. The grip is just their PXG grip. Probably needs changing. I will change that at some stage. It's not got the other grip on, which I've got on all my other clubs, mainly because I only ordered 12 of them for some reason, or I've lost the grip, I'm not too sure. No surprises here. Putter wise, we are sticking with the Lab putter. I bought this one off Scottsdale. They had a bit of a deal in sort of October, November time. I always fancied trying one out, but wasn't prepared to pay like £700-800 for a putter. I just couldn't do it to myself. So I bought the previous year's version. I liked the actual initial shape of this, although it is, people keep commenting on how ugly it is. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. This one is the 2.1 version. So like I said, it's the bigger headed one. The new one is slightly smaller, better looking, more visually appealing. Try saying that again. More visually appealing. I nailed that first time. And I feel this putter has drastically and dramatically improved the way I putt. I like the fact it's got a pressed forward grip, and I will show that now as well. How the shaft actually goes into the side of the grip, which gives you more of a forward press. I'm also forward pressing it myself as well to sort of exaggerate that particular movement. And I will explain in a future video why I actually do that, and there is a reason why I have such a pronounced forward press, which you may have noticed in my individual vlogs. The top alignment aid I like as well, with a straight line and then the line sort of intercepted with another line. We've also got that centre shaft version, so again the ball marries in nicely with the shaft and everything looks visually pleasing. I think visually pleasing seems to be my word of the day. One minor criticism for me personally, it's only me personally, is the grip is a little bit too fat. Ideally I would like the smaller version, so when we come to change this grip I will contact Lab to order, if they do, hopefully they do, a slightly smaller version grip. I just feel it's a fraction too thick for me. But that will remain in my bag, I'm pretty much sure, for 2025, unless I find something better. But we're not looking for anything better. A little plug and a side note, there is a video on the Lab putter, so if you want to watch that, a little review, non-paid review, so if you want to watch that just to see what I think of this particular putter, then I will stick the link up here now as well, or the video. The bag of choice this year is one that had absolutely no logos on whatsoever, so we put our own special logo in there. We're not paid to use a particular brand, so, and I also don't like big massive logos, so that is a completely logo free bag. For anyone interested, it is the sun mounting one, because I always had the intention of sticking my own logo on it. And thanks to my girlfriend Louise for actually sewing that on physically herself, although she didn't complain once about how long it took. So the ball of choice this year is going to be the Vice Pro Plus. It's the slightly higher spinning version than the normal Vice Pro, which I need to give me a slightly higher ball flight, so similar to the Pro V1 X, but at a fraction of the price. But price wasn't my main issue when buying golf balls. The fact that I can stick my logo on the golf ball at no additional charge, and these balls now logoed were available at $29.99 a dozen. I bought 5 dozen off Vice that I'll be using. Glove wise, I'm in with the PJ Tour this year. For me, there is absolutely no better feel, and I can't stand any other glove other than leather, and I wear that all year round. The only time I won't wear is if it's raining, then I'll bring out an old glove, a weather glove, which I absolutely hate, but I do understand that you need to use a non-leather glove when it rains, but any other time a leather glove for me is a must. Range finders, I'm sticking with a laser handheld one, and this year I'm using the same one as I used last year, which is the shot scope version, the Pro LX. Just reading that. It's the one where you can change the slopes. You've got the option as well of taking that slope on or off depending on whether you're playing a tournament. A little bit of advertising on the side for when I'm on other people's channels. Get that logo in. When I play golf, on a round of golf, I'll always carry 1 bottle of water and 1 like energy drink, so like a Lucasade if they've got them, maybe a Coke or a Diet Coke. So it just gives me an option of 2 different drinks. If I feel like my blood sugar levels are dropping, then I'll go to the sugary drink, which will give me a quick fast release. But if not, I'll drink lots of water. In the summer I'll add an extra bottle of water. Last few things, just carry a few snacks when we play golf, which is just dependent on the time of the year. I'm also going to try and add a bit of fruit to my bag. I've tried to be healthier this year as well. I've lost a little bit of weight. Thanks for noticing. So trying to put a bit of fruit in the bag, banana and apple. I'm not the greatest fan of fruit. I like my veg and I like salads, but fruit wise, not a massive fan. But I've tried to add a piece of fruit to the bag and just left a few snacks and a few sweets in there, just in case the round takes longer than you would hope. Some nice ball markers made up, so I'm going to got like 4 or 5 of them in my bag as well, which I probably will be giving a few of these away, so that I have got some more being generated, so we may have a little bit of a giveaway for some of these if people want them. But that will be my ball marker this year, because we are trying to push the brand. Hope I haven't bored you too much. That was my what's in the bag, and that leaves me with one important final thing to remind you to do.
Click that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give Lester a huge thumbs up.
And it's important not to let Darcy down, so follow her instructions.